Yeah, a lot of people are fascinated with the Tartaria piece, but they don't understand Tartaria in light of the biggest picture yet. Until these videos start getting out there and consciousness starts to weave the biblical understanding of what Tartaria is, it's not going to make sense as to why the certain rock and all those guys, why they had to blow up those buildings. Why? Well, it's because once again they're completely redirecting our minds and our hearts to the, I would call it the rapture idea. Roll up your rapture rug, because that's not the time we're in. But they want us to get prepared to not be colonizing on the earth. They want us to believe, no, the only time that you can be happy is in heaven. You can't have real joy and real peace and your estate fully perfected unless you're in heaven. Well, that's not the timeline we're on. And the Lord dropped that clue in Luke 16, and he was mournfully saying, the sons of light are less adequate than the sons of this world. And the Lord was upset about that. He wasn't like complimenting. That's not a compliment. He was saying that those who are shrewd in this life are not the sons of light, but the sons of this world, which is obviously under the princeship of this fallen prince, which is, the fallen one. So I'm the whole point of why I'm going to be moving forward with showing people the big picture. Why would you even bother getting a passport? What's so important about that? Well, the movie Jupiter Ascending gets into it in stark detail. The Secretary of the Treasury under Trump, Stephen Mnuchin, was actually the one involved in producing the movie, which tells me straight away that he completely knows what's going on. Stephen Mnuchin knows what's... Huh?
That is such an incredible connection.
It's profound. So he knows what's going on, but they can't disrupt the peace of the public and start really getting into it. So what he does, and what they all do, a wonderful team together, they start giving us clues that once we are in this realm, there are vying powers. We're going to belong to someone when we close our eyes and leave this world. But in that interchange of life, there are forces that are fighting for us to belong to their kingdom, and there's another round of forces that wants us to belong to the underworld. We're the prize. We're the booty of war. And it's reflected in this entire movie. In the opening scene, it shows how Jupiter was not happy with her life, and she's just like, do the chores, and this, she's not really fully engaged with life because she doesn't understand the stage that she's entered just by being born. And of course, it shows that the dad was killed, and that the mom, had to figure out provisions for her because the dad was killed. Well, what's the first thing that happens on a birth certificate? The dad isn't, it's listed there, but the mom is in an interaction. She's called the informant on the birth certificate. So the dad is almost vacant. And who's the surrogate husband? The government is. District of Columbia is the surrogate husband. So the birth certificate reflects this hypothecation, or rather suretyship. We like to use that word. And that basically means that the child that's born with the birth certificate, they're married to this piece of securities paper. And when they're married to it, they themselves, their body, their unit of value is allocated and wedded to this securities instrument known as the birth certificate. And this is all able to be traced, which is, I won't get into further detail because it could be distasteful to have too much truth being explicated here. So then Jupiter, what happened? So her brother's a selfish little brat, and he wants to, coax her into selling her eggs. And so Jupiter is smart enough to at least try to change her name before she goes into the facility. with the doctors and says, listen, because they're going to she's going to make a financial transaction as a result of selling her eggs. So she goes in there with a fake name, and oh, lo and behold, these beings, these bulbous-headed beings, are they're possessing the doctors. And as they're suspending her in midair, they're looking at her genetic pattern to see, does she have a specific bloodline? And if she does have a specific bloodline, then she's the one that they're going to report to the House of Abrasax, which is in demonology, when you study that, the House of Abrasax is real. It's not just some fake thing like, the demons are all wispy creatures that we can't see, and they're all wispy. No. They are physical. They're just at a different density. Just like cats and dogs can see at different spectrum, on different lines of the spectrum, these beings are real. And just because we can't see them, people would say, well, you can't say that they have a house of, or a house of this, or a house of that. Oh, yes, we can. It is biblical. This is very important, because until we know our enemy, we're going to keep going on as if nothing's really happening to us, when in truth, it really is happening. So we need to be aware of our enemy and how they operate in order to subjugate us to this jurisdiction. What they've done the whole Tartarian aspect is, there's a war between light and darkness. In one building, those buildings that are beautiful carry light within them. The other buildings that are not beautiful, like the Cyclopean, architecture and other architecture in Peru and so on and so forth, the Coricancha, those are not beautiful. That's from the underworld. And there's a war between beings that were on the face of this earth. Before humans even came, there was a war between beings of light and beings of darkness. And this is, in my opinion, what we're finding, only because of the understanding with Genesis, where it says that, replenish the earth and have dominion on the earth and over the cattle and so on and so forth. Well, the earth was plenished before. If the Holy Spirit is using the word replenish, that means again. Fill it again.
Greetings, Your Majesty. I am Intergalactic Advocate Bob, here to assist you through the Ascension process. This is the authentic recurrence of Her Ladyship, the Abrasax Sovereign, and we have come to claim her title.
You need to file an inheritance petition. And if the title is held, you need a transfer of title.
Thank you.
File a quitclaim through Central Services, Section 918. Next.
You need a title survey and gene print identification from Wilson Trusts.
I can't touch this without a tax number from the Revenue Review.
This is Revenue Request, not Revenue Review.
Method sort, clause part tax identification sort.
We can't get the title without the tax ID.
This blicker.
Corn pork.
Classical.
It goes without saying that graft is incompatible with my programming. I think you dropped something.
Press your thumb in the depression. Seals and signets are on sub 33.
Your Majesty.
And poor Jupiter, as she's being suspended, she's trying to say, no. She sees what's going on, and she's like, no. And the problem with Jupiter is she's believing this entire time that she's just an ordinary girl. There is no such thing. There is no such thing. Okay? And in the end, of course, Jupiter wakes up to who she really is. All right? So Jupiter acquires her clearance in the Hall of Titles to claim her title. She is, once that they looked at her genetics, now if I'm going to tell the story the way it is on their end, and then we're going to have to invert it into heavenly terms because they're teaching about the underworld. They're not teaching the fullness of, from a Christological point of view right here.
That's right.
So, but that's okay. We have something to work with here because that which exists here in this movie for the underworld is that which also exists for the heavenly realms too. It doesn't just go one way. It's both ways. So Jupiter acquires her clearance in the Hall of Titles to claim her title to what? To the earth. See, she's made of clay. So her clay body gives her the right to dominion on this clay, in this clay realm. So, and of course, the other parties that are interested in her are from the House of Abrasax. There's a scene in here in the movie, which, again, you'll see. It talks about the Hall of Titles, and what's fascinating here is this movie, 2015. They're teaching you how to change your status. They're telling you how to do it. It says on the wall with that cyborg fella there, quit claims, seals and signets, Hall of Titles, wills and trust, revenue review,
I watched that movie.
Yeah, absolutely, sub 33, and then file transfer. Well, as this fellow's looking at those options there, you can see clearly that there's multiple ways to changing your status. You can either go to court. Some people do name changes. I can't do that specifically for my own purposes and reasons. But then you have seals and signets, which once again is the earmark or the marker on who you really say you are. That's what the seal is. And then you get the Hall of Titles. So who has superior title? Is it within equity or is it within the commercial realm? Right? So equity, there's a whole study into equity that's very, very super important to get into. Wills and trusts, so the trusts, super critical on how to merge the estates properly without getting the government as a third-party interloper involved in your marital relationship. This is a problem. This is a problem. We've got to get God back into that relationship, not the government. Get God back there. Revenue review, which is particularly the IRS, which is hilarious. Sub 33, which means before 1933, the Emergency Banking Relief Act. Okay? So you have to go to the floor, sub 33. You have to go backwards in time to claim your status as a private American national, or private state national, or private ambassador for Christ, and then your title transfer. So it's taken me many years since 2009 to figure out the different aspects of, reclaiming your first estate, your status. How do you do that? Well, there's different spheres in which you can do that. And that's where the passport is the beginning stage. You got to begin somewhere. And passport is a great place to begin because it seems like the structure of it is simpler and it is inter-office. It connects right into the treasury. So you're getting two birds with one stone there. And so the passport, what it does is we're changing our status. And in the Hebrew understanding of status, it means right standing before God. This is not just, let's for 15, 20 minutes, let's just throw some letters on the Department of State forms and it's all done. And no. It could take us a half an hour to go through the form with you, but it's going to take at least that 8 hours to give you a background into what world you're entering into. Just sloughing off and putting in, letter by letter on the form. If they ask you a question at the Department of State and you can't answer it, that's not good. That's really not good. So, because you're saying, you're on a federal form saying, under penalties of perjury, this is who I am. And if you don't know what you're doing, that is not okay. You're lying on a federal form. And that's what we use. And then, of course, in the course, when people sign up, they're getting access into the evidence for the basis in the workshop that each one of us has a military filing on ourselves. And so if the military filing shows that we are a belligerent or an enemy, we've got to correct that. No, we are not an enemy. We are not chattel. We are not property, but we are the original. We're the posterity of the original instrument, you know, the Constitution. So we've got to understand who we are, what hat we're wearing, and that we are true beneficiaries of that trust that's been entrusted to us with this constitutional republic. And then the third part, of course, is the armament, on how one would, you know, acquire their firearms properly with this status. And so there's private videos that get into that. Once someone goes through the course, we're going to provide to them the armament video so they can learn after they get their passport how to do it, how to properly do it step by step. There's other aspects. I have Dr. Corinne talking about her experience getting, you know, pulled over by, you know, the police at a traffic stop, and she had a very good interaction. We can't promise that interaction for everybody, but I know from my personal experience and from hers and from several of us in our group, and I wouldn't say group, but our people, the ones we've worked with this workshop, the police stop them and all of a sudden have a nice day. Very simple, without a license. These are people showing their passports. And of course, then also we're going to get into the marriages and how to properly merge your estate together through a trust versus marrying with the state as the third party. No, we're going to put God right back in the middle of that.
Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Absolutely. So we're going to get into that. We're also going to talk about people getting their elector status versus being a voter of a corporation. We're going to show how one can get their elector status after they get their passport. Also, we're going to show a beautiful Canadian talking about her story. We were able to assist Canadians in this process. I basically took their form and reverse engineered it, and was able to find out how what we did in the United States, we were able to do it for Canada, so much to the degree where certain, let's just say certain products that they didn't want to have to put in their arm, they didn't have to participate in that due to the filing. And it was a very good experience. So that's going to become available to people on the channel. And then, of course, banking in light of this status change. So this isn't just getting a passport. This is an entire life change. But you got to start somewhere. We have to figure out what's the easiest way. Where do we begin? And we do it in steps. And, of course, the fun part. So, you know, we're going to be helping people, you know, at the end as an upcharge, of course, because everyone has a different desire for what they want in terms of their badge selection. But those who want to get their badges, if they're Canadian, non-surety nationals, if they're ambassadors for Christ, if they're American nationals, we've got different badge designs for them, so they can select that. And then if they want to do a federal filing, they can also do that too. So there's just a lot of beautiful things that we're doing, but the passport is the way to begin. To recap, spiritual freedom, that's the point of doing this exercise. Getting the passport, re-establishing our relationship to the birth certificate and having it recognized by the U.S. Department of State. So that's number one. Number two, we've had many, many years of experience in this field. So you're within that 7.5 hours or however long that course is, the workshop, you're getting snippets of those many years of experience with the evidence to back it up. And then the third, above all, is avoiding pitfalls. You know, you're not getting involved in a sovereign citizen movement. You're not going to be marked as a tax protester. It's all skillfully navigable. And so that we approach everything diplomatically. We're not here to fight. We have no desire to do that. We will protect our rights. That is super important. The scriptures tell us we need to do that. But that's it's just beautiful. So this is just the beginning, but I can say that the way to start is through the passport. And as we continue to go through each item, like the elector status and so on and so forth, all of that's going to become available to those who have participated in the workshop, the workshop with us. The elector status is you're not going to be voting anymore as a corporate entity, voting within the corporate structure of the District of Columbia. You're going to be utilizing your status as an elector, so you can make known your selection of choice based upon being one of the posterity. So that's a whole other thing. We'll get into that. That's a whole separate video. Reclaiming our original status. So they're the usurpers because they didn't have a right title and interest that's proper, because God didn't give them dominion. God gave us dominion. So we are reclaiming our first estate, thereby taking our right title. And that's what that movie Jupiter Ascending is all about. That's all about titles. Even in the scene, if you saw the part where the marriage was going to take place between her and that member of the House of Abrasax, interestingly enough, you notice that the cathedral was built also in Tartarian architecture.
That's right.
We're taking it back. So this business about the Lord Jesus coming to preach a kingdom, he didn't preach a religion. That if he preached a religion, he wouldn't have died on the cross with that saying over his head, King of the Jews. He preached a kingdom, and the kingdom is so real. It is very real. And now we're heading into the kingdom age where we are now going to be taking over these seats within government. That is the key. That is absolutely super important. That's what Luke 16 was all about. The Lord was letting us know that there will be an age to come where those in those positions will be kingdom citizens, colonizing the earth. And besides, I believe with this kingdom age that we're in the time, or we're heading into the time where the great, not white throne judgment, but the stone judgment it's coming down. The stone judgment is the tippity top, as the inverse, like the underworld has their little pyramid structure. Well, we have Daniel 2, the figure of a man. That's like the pyramidal structure that they've been controlling us for 6,000 years. That's why in the Bible it says we will be judging angels. Why? Because this entire time they have been ruling over us. Enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
So the Lord Jesus, who is the stone at the tippity top, he's going to be rolling down and he's going to be crushing the feet of that big, huge monstrosity in the feet of iron and clay. Well, that's the government and the churches intermingled with also on other levels when you're dealing with the other aspects of science, which we're not going to get into here. This stone judgment is coming. And there's a gentleman, Revelation Riddle, he wrote the book, Benjamin Thomas. I have notified, as mentioned, I've notified over I spent somewhere around $6,000 on mailings way back in 2015. And these mailings were also sent to Trump, and 2015, I sent out these mailings. And the mailings were, I was warning them, these kings of the earth, okay? King of Norway, I'm not going to list them all because it's so many. I was telling them that the stone judgment is coming. You want to be on the right side of this, and all of the representatives also received faxes. My friends stayed up for 3 days and 3 nights faxing all this stuff out to them too.
Yes, this is to Congress and Senate and all of that.
Absolutely, all of them. So now we're heading into that time where the stone judgment is coming, and we want to be on the right side of history. We want to be on the right side of this. So, that's where, a lot of people are coming out of these systems, and they're instead of being a double agent, they're like, you know what, I think we're going to select the winning side. And I think that's the wise choice. It's all, even in the book, it shows, even in the movie, Jupiter Ascending, it shows this House of Abrasax holding a little horn in his hands. And so they're dropping the clues in this movie that they know what's up. And they understand. So now, if you want to go into it deeper, in the movie Jupiter Ascending, it also talks about the very topic you're talking about, which is the adrenochrome, which, we'll be very careful about discussing, but that's the units of light measurement, and that's what's providing them immortality. These fallen beings, they don't want to get light from God. They want to circumvent God's plan for righteousness. In order to be righteous, that means to carry light. That means to carry God's light is by being righteous. So instead, they're siphoning off that resource through these little children or the souls. And that's how they're trying to attribute to themselves this longer lasting life, which is in their, in their understanding, it's they're trying to reclaim their immortality because they know they're dying. They're just dying more slowly because they were wrought forth from the eternal realms. Whereas humans, our genetics were capped as a result of them polluting our genome. And us falling into that by buying through the jurisdictional entryway of Adam falling into that sin, and Adam and Eve, of course, together doing that, we've allowed ourselves to have our genetics messed with. So with Christ, though, the Lord talked about, unless you eat my body and drink my blood, you have no life within you. He's not talking about a cannibalistic relationship. He's talking about, here's how you can get your DNA upgraded. I'm going to show you how to do it. That's what Jesus is talking about. And that's a whole other presentation in and of itself and by itself in the future.
Amen.
So these beings are, the ones, they are hunting us down, and we are the harvest on both sides, whether it's for their kingdom or for the kingdom of Most High. So it's all about the genetics. 2/3 of the world's economy was run on genetics. And of course, that's what we're fighting. And since a certain man came into office, that's what has been dealt with head on with these executive orders that were pushed forward. So 13818, 13848, et cetera, on the voting and all that. So we are in the midst of this, and it just goes on and on. But the essence of it is, we think, not all angels have wings, right?
Yes, right.
So we've got to understand that people among us that we think are people are not people. That's the problem. We were not taught within our churches how to ascertain or make a differentiation between that which is a holy being and that which is, a savage being that's trying to have us belong to that underworld. But, people think, well, the demons are, well, we do know that there's a different class of demons. Of course, in true demonology, they are the Nephilim that died, and they're part human and part angel hybrid, and they're in their spirit form. But that spirit form is what attacks humans, and that's the demon. That's a demon. But there's other beings that are clothed with celestial flesh. And that's what we were not taught in our churches. We were not taught that we have to be careful with who we're talking to and how we're treating others we could be entertaining angels unawares. Just like Jupiter Ascending showed us, her doctors, she was interacting with beings, and she didn't understand that until it was a little too late. And of course, her angel comes in for the rescue. Now, I have to say straight up that the way she interacted with her angel was not appropriate. I can tell you that. You do not flirt with these beings. No. Not okay. That is very bad manners, and it's a huge transgression against God. So I know Hollywood and all them, they like to add their little flares to that, but that's actually very important to note. There's a reason why women covered their heads and still do in the Orthodox circles.
Oh, my goodness. Yes.
We've got we have to respect that, because these beings, people say, well, they don't have feelings, and it's like, some of them have. Anytime angels have free will, okay, they could potentially fall, and we're not interested in causing any of that. And people say, well, wait a minute, they don't have lust. Excuse me. The other ones did have lust. That's why they made the agreement on Mount Hermon about what they were going to do. And so we have to understand there's wisdom within these Orthodox, beliefs that, okay, there's a wisdom behind what they're doing. Even if we don't understand it, we need to take time to try to understand it, and respect it, because that's just a safeguard right there. Cover your head when you're doing your prayers. Cover your head, in respect, So this is only the beginning of a journey, and it is a lifetime journey. But it's beautiful, and we get to reclaim what's ours. We do have an inheritance, and we don't have to just wait till we die to enjoy these things. That's absolutely something that was propagated by and through these certain families that took control over these churches. They want us to believe, well, it's only out there, after you're dead. No. Jesus, he's talking about colonizing this earth, not leaving it.
Yes.
He prayed, Father, don't take them.
Dr. Monroe, we thank you.
So it's beautiful, and it's just the beginning. And when enough of us claim what's ours, we will effectively be able to usher in this kingdom age. We will effectively be able to do it.